How's it going, everyone? This video is going to be over propulsion blocks. Now, if you haven't seen my video on order blocks, I would check that out first, because if you don't understand what order blocks are, this video will not make any sense at all. With that being said, we will go over a quick review of order blocks in the PDF before we learn about propulsion blocks. Let's get into it. So here we are in the PDF, and we will do a quick review of what an order block is. An order block is a single or series of up-close candles into an important level before price displaces and closes below the opening price of that single or series of up-close candles, validating it as an order block. Then when retested, I'm looking for price to trade away from that order block. Similarly, with a bullish order block, we have a series or single down close candle into an important level, which then gets displaced and closed over, validating it as an order block. Then when price retests this area, I want to see it trade away. So what is a propulsion block? A propulsion block is an order block off of another order block. So for this example here, we have a down close candle into an important level, which is then closed over, validating it as an order block. Then price retraces and reaches into this order block, then closing over this down close or series of down close candles into this order block. That then creates a propulsion block. Now, with a propulsion block, I anticipate the opening price to be very sensitive, and zooming in, I do not want to see price break the mean threshold of a propulsion block. So now that you understand what a propulsion block is, let's hop into the charts and go over a few examples of them. So here we are on oil futures daily chart for our first example. And if you take a look at this price action here, what do you see? Well, if you take a look, we have price reaching into a fair value gap here. We have a series of up-close candles, which then gets displacement, and where do we close? Below the series of up-close candles here. So this is going to be an order block. Now let's see if price retests this area. Here you can see price retests this area. Now if we're going to form a propulsion block, we're looking for the order block that forms off of an order block. So this up-close candle here that retests this order block, if we close below the up-close candle here, we form a propulsion block. Now that we've gotten that closure, I'm anticipating this to be very sensitive. Now, what else do I not want to see? I don't want to see price come up and break or close over the mean threshold of this propulsion block. If I was going to look to take an entry on the daily chart, I could look to enter on the opening price, and I would be comfortable having my stop on the other side of the body or on this high. I personally would use the other side of the body here, and I could look for 2R, which is right at this swing low here, or I could drop down to a lower time frame, but we will show both. So you can see here we get tagged in, and we actually take profit the same day. Now, let's see if we continue lower. We do. Now let's drop into the hourly chart here and see if we can find a lower time frame entry using a daily propulsion block to frame it. So here we are on the hourly chart, and if you notice, we have some previous day's highs lined up here, which is great for inducement. Now here is our propulsion block, and ideally we want to see a nice reaction off of this area. Let's see what happens. So far so good. Now I'm not trying to catch a top. What I'm looking for is we have a series of up-close candles here. So if we can close below this, we will form an order block, which I can look to take an entry. So do we close below it? I do not count that as a close below it, so I'm not looking for an entry yet. Here we do close below it. Now I can look to take an entry here. My stop on this high, or above the order block or breaker block. I personally prefer the high, and then looking to target sell side liquidity or this low. So let's see how this works out. And there we go. We delivered to sell side liquidity. For our next example, we're going to be looking at GU on the 60-minute chart. Now, if you've seen my last video, you know I was using this example, and we have an SMT here, we have displacement, and a breaker block here. Now we also have a low resting right here. So let's see what happens. So price reaches into the breaker block, sweeping a low. Let's see if we get displacement out. We do. So now we have price reaching into an important level, below an old low, into a fair value gap and breaker block, and then displacing out. So looking at this down close candle here as our order block, let's see what happens next. Price then respects this order block, Now, if we're going to close over this down close candle that reacts off the order block, we then form a propulsion block. Do we get a close over it? Yes. Now I want to see price respect the opening price and not close below the mean threshold of this propulsion block. So you can see we do reach into this propulsion block, but we're respecting the mean threshold of it. And there we go, we get our displacement out. So there is another example of using a propulsion block. Now, if I was going to look to take an entry here, how would I do it? I'd look to enter the opening price, and with propulsion blocks, I'm fine with putting my stop on the other side of the body, and then looking to target buy side liquidity resting here. So something like that. So with our next example here, you can see we sweep stops right here, and then we get displacement lower. And what do we have here? We have a nice little volume imbalance. Let's see if price reacts out of this area. So we do react out of this area. Now what do you see? Do we have an up close candle into an important area? We do. Do we close below the opening price of it? We do. Now we have an order block. Now let's see if price reacts off of this area. So we have an up close candle into that area. Are we going to get a closure below the opening price? We do. Now I'm wanting to see sensitivity in this opening price, and I don't want price to break above or close above the mean threshold of this. Let's see what happens. You can see we're respecting the opening price. We can't reach up into the mean threshold, and then we get a continuation lower. So for our final example, we are on oil futures 60-minute chart. And if you notice, through Asia and London, we have mostly consolidated. So if we're going to do something, I'm looking for New York to manipulate to make a move. So here we sweep a low and get displacement out. Now with this displacement out, we have a series of down close candles into a low before displacement and closure over them. This forms an order block. Let's see if this order block supports price higher. Here you can see we get a down close candle into an order block, into a fair value gap, and then displacement out of here. Now I want to see closure over this opening price, which we have not gotten yet. We now have closure over this opening price. So ideally I want to see the opening price be sensitive, and I don't want to see closure or a break below the mean threshold. So if I'm looking to take an entry, I'd look to enter on the opening price with my stop either on this low or on the body. With a propulsion block, I'm fine with the body. If I wanted to be safe, I'd use this intermediate term low. Looking for 2R. Let's see how this works out. Here we get entered in. You can see we don't disrespect the mean threshold. Now we're closing back outside this propulsion block. And we start to move higher. A little bit of consolidation. And there we go and hit our 2R target. Now I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.